What's up, Gamer Nation? Heretic here, coming at you live with some gaming news. Alright, so Sony just had its little conference thingamabob happen. The one that we've all been expecting and, in suspense for the last I don't know how long. Basically, they made a few. This was like a small 40-minute conference. Nothing significant, in my opinion. Basically, what we got here is just basically more official announcements about the hardware that we've all known about for some time. That includes the new PlayStation 4 Slim. You know the one that looks like a graduation cap. No changes there, except that they shaved the top half of your PlayStation 4 down, and it's a little bit smaller. It looks a little bit sleek. I mean, I'm not sure how much of an appeal that would make. Maybe you care about the physicality of your device, but it looks okay to me. I mean, I think I'm gonna skip it though. Other hardware announcements include also the much anticipated PlayStation Neo, now named officially the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, basically, this conference revolved around basically trying to sweet talk you into all this 4K nonsense. I mean, it's pretty cool. 4K is alright. I've seen 4K. It is impressive in stores. If you're this basically the whole conference was to sweet talk you into buying 4K TVs and upgrading your equipment. HDR. Oh my God, you can't live without it. Yeah, so they've said that they've increased the graphics by like 50%. They've overclocked the PlayStation 4 Pro to so that you can achieve this clarity. And once again, 4K is pretty awesome. It's pretty much the next 1080p resolution. It's the next big thing. And as far as HDR goes, it's high dynamic range. Basically, they've showed off some pretty colors. They showed some gameplay footage of upcoming games. Like Tomb Raider or EA, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. They showed an extended gameplay clip of Horizon Zero Dawn, and I don't have a 4K or anything or like that, but I'm pretty sure it's impressive. But we don't come to gaming for the graphics. If gaming was all about graphics, gaming would have ended a long time ago with Mario. So graphics don't really concern me. More processing power is very useful, but we're going to see how much of a strain that actually puts on the developers, because as they've stated themselves, not every developer is going to support this initially. There's only a few participating publishers that are participating, like EA and Activision. Of course, they have the funds and the resources to make this happen, and expect some good content from them. Also, they've got some they're partnering up with YouTube and also Netflix to bring you 4K content, which is nice. But let's get down to the nitty and gritty. Why the hell did they need to have a conference about something we already knew? I mean, obviously, Microsoft's got their Xbox One S, 4K, 2 terabyte, whatever. So obviously, Sony had to respond to that. And obviously, they didn't need to hold a press conference for this. This was basically just, hyping up, visual clarity, and that's what it basically is. Yes, if you're a hardcore gamer, you want the highest fidelity possible. I mean, this was inevitable. But obviously, I don't want my games compromised because of it. I don't want the developers to put in extra time or basically cut down on the gameplay just to put in extra time, like Sony's first party developers have in the past to support their gimmicky technology. Remember Killzone 3 and 3D? That turned out to be a gimmick, and the game was more or less, depending on your opinion, compromised for it. So basically, some examples like that, where the publishers tell their first parties to basically focus on graphics over gameplay, which takes up, I'm not sure how much time, but I'm pretty sure it takes some effort to make it, appealing to the wide consumer audience. And basically, the real reason why they had to make this conference was basically to upsell it. I'm not sure why, but the PlayStation VR was not mentioned here at all. They said that it would. I mean, it was, but not the VR itself. They were supposed the 4K console, the Pro, is supposed to stream that 4K content clarity towards the into the PSVR, right? But I expected some other announcements about the PlayStation VR as well. I'm not sure why they didn't, uh, reiterate what the PlayStation VR could do. I know it's all about the new consoles, but I was just expecting something a little bit more on the PlayStation VR. But I'm glad it's going to be able to stream 4K content. If you're comfortable with having 4K streamed like 2 inches from your face, that's pretty cool. It's very immersive. I'm not sure how much of a necessity it is. Like I said, games were not initially about graphics. It's all about gameplay first, and I like options. I'm glad that they have a console that can support 4K because it is becoming popular right now, and we don't know how far the next console generation out is, how far that new generation is, and it gives players more options. But I'm hoping that this doesn't become the standard where you continuously introduce annually a new console iteration every year just to squeeze out a little more visual clarity. It just doesn't sound appealing to me. But yeah, the real reason why they're introducing this PlayStation Pro is, I think, in my opinion, honestly, they don't want to touch on it, because the real reason is because the current PlayStation 4 model cannot really handle the PlayStation VR, or so I've read about, or so I've heard about. It's basically it cannot. It's not that it can't support the PlayStation VR that well, so they have to introduce this upgraded model to support it in order for PlayStation to compete in the VR battleground. They have to keep up with Microsoft. They have to keep up with HTC. Basically, the new console just helps streamline the PlayStation VR technology. And honestly, I think 4K is just an excuse. Because there's still so many. They said 40 million PS4 players, right? How many of them are really willing and ready to upgrade to a 4K? You got your this new PlayStation, which costs $499, right? That's a whole hundred above the PlayStation Slim, and in order to get that clarity, you're going to have to upgrade to a 4K TV. That's a lot of upgrading. I'm just saying, that is a lot of investment just for a little bit better clarity in my games, and it doesn't even improve the game. You got gamers bitching about everything except graphics these days, and stupid choices within the community on the development side, and that's just a lot of money and a lot of investment. And I think the whole 4K thing is just a ruse. It's an excuse to sell more 4K TVs. But while the major point is that they need something to streamline the PlayStation VR headset. That's just my 2 cents. I think that's the whole purpose of this new console, is just so that Sony can compete in the VR battle, against Microsoft and HTC. That's just my 2 cents. But other than that, it was a pretty standard conference. Nothing blew my socks off. I mean, I am comfortable personally with 1080p. There have been so many great games that that came out this past generation that did not rely on 4K as a gimmick. But like I said, I love that they are giving gamers options, even though it might put some strain once again on the developers. And I am definitely going to keep up with that, and I'm going to be bitching about that later if that turns out to be the case, that it makes game development actually harder, and that it compromises our experiences in some ways. But I am definitely going to be keeping up with the reception that you know, the PlayStation Pro has, that the PlayStation VR has. And honestly, I don't know why they didn't announce anything else about the VR. I guess they didn't want to hype it up because they know that, you know, most of the PlayStation VRs have sold out, and that the next batch is not going to be ready for some time. So they didn't want to disappoint many people. But other than that, pretty standard announcements. Nothing we didn't already suspect. This they could have just released something on their website or a simple video, but you know, good job Sony. You know, keeping up with the Microsoft battle, keeping up with the hardware. I'm definitely going to be keeping up with the hardware. I tend to focus more on game content than anything, but game hardware is actually one step below that, because you know, you can't create good content if you don't got the good hardware to keep up with it. But also, you know, gimmicks like 4K or PlayStation VR, I'm sorry to say, it can be a hindrance. You know, like that Killzone example and 3D that I gave you. I just want to keep up with it to make sure it doesn't interrupt or, you know, intrude upon our experiences and hamper everything, you know. But other than that, I hope to bring you guys some more awesome gaming news. Um, and it looks like we're gonna have a pretty crowded gaming season with all the content and all the hardware. So definitely gonna try and keep up with that. But other than that, I'm gonna let you guys go. Got some games to play. This is Heretic signing off.